Cool. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Looking for a Shaligram. Okay. So, maybe I should find some music. Something chill. No copyright. Chill. La da da dum. Haven't shown this Shaligram. But we shall look at it now. Let's see. Fantasy World. No copyright. I like fantasy. Maybe not that. In the sunlight. Da-da-da. Cool. Okay. We're gonna look at this Shaligram right here. Okay, maybe I should just pull these pictures up actually. Before I do this, there's this other side of Shaligrams that they're like duality to Shaligrams. These stones are associated in Hindu culture with the Tulsi plant, holy basil, and I've been growing some and taking pictures, so I thought before going into the Shaligrams I'd just kind of show these. I don't know what to make of it. My thought is current flows, because spoiler alert, my interpretation of Shaligrams is that they are etched and shaped by current flows. So there must be some current flow related reason for why Tulsi is just like relevant to Shaligrams. It's not just like, there's like there's an actual relationship that is present in it. So here's some pictures of Tulsi to kind of get going. 3 varieties in these images. This one's more bushy and not the best picture there, but and then this one's more just stocky, I guess, and tall and narrow, stocky. Getting a little bigger, bunch of them. Single ones, so they're just like single threads. I assume they branch. Maybe they would branch if I didn't have them like this, but they don't seem to be. Maybe as they get bigger, they might need repotted and taken away from one another. In that one especially, this one only has 3, so it's probably okay. But I'm basically trying to document the Tulsi as well to see its growth patterns, see how its energy flows. It's very like straight up, like, which is kind of what is Shaligram like. Just like immediately some thought to that is I have an entire group titled Drilled Through, because currents are propagating with like a spine to them that are just cutting through the stones, spiraling eddies. Just drilling the stones. So it's possible that a part of the relationship to Tulsi is that it's very, like, stalky, bamboo-like, I guess. It doesn't branch out as much as it just goes up. At least initially, maybe it will branch out. We'll see. I don't know how long I can keep them going. It's nice. It smells nice too. It's got a typical basil smell, but maybe a little different. I feel like we... oh yeah, there's some duplicates. It's getting a little bigger. And then this is both of them. So notice it's way taller. This one grew first, and then it kind of slowed down, where this one just like sprouted. It just kept going, but then interestingly, this one has been flowering. So now we're getting flowers, which is pretty cool. I would like to use this microscope camera to look at this. I should probably do it before the flowers lose their like robustness. It might be too late. Some of them might be okay though. But I noticed they like are all on one side of the stalk kind of thing, largely at least. Not sure if all is correct. Like they're coming out of this side and not the back side, which I thought was kind of odd. Like there's a front and back side to where the flowers are coming out of. It's not like just wrapping around it so as much as I would just assume generally it to do. So it's kind of anomalous. Possibly relating to some kind of Shaligram thing. I mean, maybe these are like related to some process where current's flowing and then like flowering into Shaligrams in some way, where there's like really details of the process embedded in the actual subtleties of this plant. I don't know. That's why I was growing it, to kind of look at it a little more. There's also different varieties, so I don't know how this one, I thought this was a nice picture. It's so cool. Pretty bad one there. A little closer. Just kind of checking it out. I don't really have much like technical thing to say about it. It also, it goes up, 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 and then up here it finally branches. They're starting to branch. And then a third one that I had growing in another pot, but that pot seems to not be very good. Like whenever I water it, the water just kind of sits there. And then the dirt ends up being weird over time. Some reason, I don't know. But they didn't make it. But then I planted some out by this tree, and one of them has been going. We got rabbits around. I'm surprised it's not been eaten. Today I noticed even little paws where the rabbit was like, maybe I can dig a hole here. I think they do that. like right next to it over here. I'm like, are you gonna eat this? I hope not. Maybe they don't like the smell. I don't know. But this is the third variety. I have 3 seed varieties of Tulsi. It's a little different. I mean, it's not. The leaves are a little awkward in some of them, so maybe I think like this one's a pretty good shot of it, as it more presently is. So it's getting a little bigger. It's more a typical looking basil, I guess. But that's the Tulsi. Okay, let's get to what I really wanted to talk about, which is Shaligrams, which is the title of this. This one is really just abnormal. Just abnormal. Before we look at it, maybe... Let's see. I feel like there's like a favorites. Where's favorites? Might as well just show these real quick. And I guess I have images. I'm just being lazy. I didn't know where they are. They're probably near here. Here they are. Good. Okay. We got stuff to look at too. I probably talked about this one before, but that's okay. In a traditional sense of how science would interpret this is some seashells of some variety, whatever exactly they would say. But that's just what can be said at a glance. Really looking at it, it's like, are you sure that's possible? These are layered really weirdly when we start to look at how they interact with one another. It's like, dude, this is weird. It's not as simple as it may seem. So let's go through some details, and hopefully I can like spontaneously and abruptly, because I wasn't really intending on doing this. I was actually about to record about the Pacific and the Pacific Northwest details, but I just didn't really feel like it. I was like, maybe I'll just stream instead, because this Shaligram really deserves discussion. It's so incredible. I hope you guys enjoy its beauty and its wonder and what it has to say. So let's get going before I just do whatever I'm doing. So one shell, let's say, another shell here, other shells around, but let's just keep going. Here's the opposite side. So this is one side, and then turn it around, opposite side. And this is one of the things I note is, oddly, when I'm looking at these, I'm looking for the same features. Like, if I see something that comes to a point and has like 2 abrupt sides like this, I'm like, okay, is this related to a chakra? Which is like one of... Where's a good picture? There we go. Chakras, and then lobe. Like, these features sometimes form subtly, so maybe we can take a glance over here. Where would I... Probably in this one. Like this. Where on the side, there's an actual ammonite chunk, like a piece of an ammonite lodged in here, indicating like enough of the process was happening for that to form, but it didn't really erode, because what's happening is currents are shaping this, eroding into the stone's material, and in this case, not getting in enough to actually create a full-blown ammonite, because on the other side, an actual ammonite is forming by a more dominant eddy, because that's what's happening, is an eddy current is taking a very regular and defined shape that just is what happens, scale invariantly, where it's fundamentally atomic, galactic, like solar system, planetary, all these like particulate systems that we know tend towards operating the same ways, which shaligrams demonstrate the flow patterns that are like present in those circumstances. And in the opposite side of the stone, another eddy is there. So this eddy is essentially currents are pushing pressures into this region of the stone as it was being formed and shaped. And an eddy was forming on this side of the stone opposite another eddy, and it couldn't like push the boundaries well enough to actually cohesively form, so it formed a recessive ammonite, which is this, something that's subtle and not actually defined, but defined enough that its features are like recognizable, just like deformed or incomplete, or some way they're not actually there. So anyway, point is, in this stone we have a chakra. Like weirdly though, like it's part of this seashell that takes this shape that has kind of like the from the chakra. If we find like a nucleus, like when there's a nucleus, like this portion, like the shape it has, like if you imagine a smaller one here, a smaller one here, a smaller one here. So from a general point like this, the beginning of the shell going sideways, there's little ripples outward. So chakra, and then steps upward, specifically chakras, and it goes up and over, and then has this little like tier, and then up and over, tier, up and over, tier, up and over, tier, up and over, tier, up and over, up, and then so it has very much a chakra shape. And then over here it just has ripples in those same shapes that tend to form out from the chakras. So it also has that going on. So that's curious that it would have something that even resembles a chakra. So I pointed out here with this how it's just doing that kind of thing. And then over here it's also doing that, where it has a chakra in the material here. This one's really interesting because we can really look at it very closely in terms of the sides, the side of the structure here, where this one's kind of just like a single boundary in the stone. This one's very like an actual structure, like a layer. It's protruding out from the stone. This whole it's an actual boundary in this relative to these. So like this seashell, interestingly, its shell extends downward into a chakra here, seemingly. If we're like the same, basically it has that shape, whether or not it's actually like materially related or just coincidence. It has that shape where it has again these like steps upward in tiers and up and over, and then it reaches a point over here where, interestingly, it literally has these boundaries where it goes up, down, and turns into a wave. Here, now remember that if this is a chakra, and this is like a lobe outward from the chakra, and then it forms teeth like this, even though it's not an ammonite in shape. It's not an ammonite in shape. It's these seashell things in shape. And yet it has an ammonite's chakra in shape with like this, the ammonite's teeth rib things happening. Although this one kind of stops over here, but like it continues in some instances, depending on the stone's details, how the current flow was exactly. So it's there, but it's like not even an ammonite. So it's kind of odd. It's not even an ammonite, but it has not just one, but two chakra type things that have not just the chakra shape, but the surrounding shapes of like relevant features around the chakra on the stone. And then this is again that first chakra, which maybe over here also has like a back layered chakra behind it, potentially. That's unclear though. Another angle. We'll see this a little better. This is the chakra though, so over here, we can see there's this tiered layeredness to it, like a chakra does. That really looks like a chakra right there. And it even protrudes a little bit like chakras can do. And then it comes up to a point region where it actually thins, like right here it thins. And then the other side, interestingly, is a little more smooth, which seems to be a thing that I'm coming across in how these just happen in other instances that are unrelated to the stone, but related to chakra formations. So like that, it does that also kind of suggested. But then interestingly, this boundary continues across there and goes up to where over here is, which is again like a thing that happens in ammonites and in how these things form. So that it's doing these things is very odd, first of all. It's like, even if it's not, even if it's truly fossils, but like, let's keep going. Oops. We can see, this is what I thought is like so incredible right here. We can really see the shape of a chakra. And then over here, a boundary chakras do that. And then over here, we kind of see like an inner chakra even going on here. It's kind of like how this one is inner to this boundary. There's an inner one here. There's almost like an inner chakra to the inner one here that then kind of has a tier going out further like that. It kind of rejoins the larger one, but has this interior chakra, which again happens with chakras. This is a thing that just happens in chakras. Talked about it recently with regard to South America, really, in one of those episodes of Underground Science. But then there's, again, like, we can see it across here, these like actual boundaries in the material that kind of suggest there's just a chakra here in ways that are very odd again. And it's like at the tail end of the, like, here is one of these nubs that like all of the waves protrude from. So over here is the chakra. So these waves are protruding, chakra. And then interestingly, like kind of like another chakra here then. Like if we follow this boundary down, it's kind of like an inner chakra. Which then is like, is this things that are happening in shaligrams when ammonites are forming more cohesively, like layers that are being shaped in ripples and things that are not as obvious when seeing them like more cohesively formed, because it takes a like peculiar galaxy to do it, something with anomalies that point to particulars of the process. Let's keep going though, because there's so many details of this shaligram. So there's the ammonite chakras. I drew it. I actually drew an inner one here, so I didn't at that point even notice this one here. So another one there, where like an outer one actually is more, I believe I interpreted this outer one to be more at the actual base of this, because it has a depth. So like the top of this layer is bounded by this one's boundary, whereas the bottom of the layer is actually down there and is bounded to this. So there's like an actual like height relevance to the way the current flowed off of it. It seems like further down it flowed more this way, and further up flowed more this way, it seems. There's also interesting just details to the stone that we can get into. It's just so incredible. There's like, it's almost like one of these things is at each corner almost, and then over here, let's see, does it have? That's where the ammonite is. So in all this, we'll find out, is an ammonite. Just like the other one though, it's subtle, but like present and distinguishably present. So we've got these layers of these shell looking things, and then they start to wrap with one. Here's the ammonite. So again, we've got the teeth boundary down here, across here, rippling up here as well, and then going down to like a chakra point right here is between the chakra, and there's even like a circle here. So this here is like the top of a chakra that goes across that way, and then subtly goes through this way and across and down and around here. So there's like an actual ammonite shape in the midst of all this, just subtly, not like so cohesively that it's even an ammonite shape. Like, it's not like an ammonite is there, because there's details about this that demonstrate it's not like there's just an ammonite there, but it has all the features of an ammonite, because it's like the process is generally happening, just not so substantially or cohesively in the way that it would form a more typical ammonite. It's got more peculiarities about it that make it distinguishably odd enough that something else is going on. And then fossils. So then I kind of tried to circle some things. So I noticed, I've come across in my experience with shaligrams, I've noticed when I see these like circle type things, and there's like a cross section into these, there tends to be like not at the top side, but at the bottom side, or top. I think it's the bottom side when I actually can tell. In this case, it's not really what is the top and bottom. It's less obvious, but I would say it's probably this side because of the way it has this bubble thing down here. There seems to generally form like a circular bubble cushion thing that like essentially what happens in a general sense, current flow goes through the chakras and runs into resistance and fans out away from the chakras. to then run into resistance though, so it wraps around and basically forms a lobe and extends out how far the current that's flowing down and out can like push the boundaries sideways, because this is all under pressure from all directions. So it's like flowing into a chamber that when the current flows into, it must like do something with its energy because it's contained, so it like basically just flows in ways that it forms an eddy and forms what ends up being an ammonite shape if it's contained with and it has enough energy flowing into the space. And so it started to do it here, and I think like in a way where like there's generally like a spiral center here, but then there's like a weird little up down like coiling snake thing that goes over this way. Maybe I'm not capturing its detail in like a truly like cohesively accurate way, but like maybe you can see it like here, maybe going up there and across that way, down this way, wrapping around here maybe, and just like kind of back and forth thing though, that then seemingly has like a boundary here where it like wraps around that final point, goes around here and goes, runs into itself, and kind of has like a central node here that like an eddy then would be happening here generally, which would then probably interact with another eddy and between them propagate a current this way, which is part of what happens in ammonites and shaligrams, is that they will propagate a current kind of like that in a like through the center region, like there, top, bottom, center of side of the lobe, and then 1/3, 2/3 on the opposite side specifically seems to be what happens, at least when it like cohesively happens. Sometimes it like does other things, but the circumstances are not as like balanced. But when it's like balanced enough to kind of see a tendency happening, I think it does like top, bottom, and then far end, and then the opposite side is almost like bracing it from the two sides, so it has like a backstop instead of bracing it from like the center. It has like 2 feet. Well, this is like a head and 2 arms or something. I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but so there's that, and then some other stuff where I felt like I kind of saw there's definitely more too. You can see like circular stuff, and notice if we go up here, it's not, I guess it's here too. I was gonna say it's not as clearly there, like it's more here. We can see a bunch of little things of that nature. We'll look at the stone more closely. I don't know why I'm delaying so much. Here's a good angle though. So we see this seashell thing is actually embedded in some way, but off center from this point, like, which then wraps around and has another side here, which is what's underneath that chakra piece. So this is the side of the chakra where this side goes up and along that way, and then the bottom side wraps around here to have like a inner and outer path. So if there's a chakra here, notice now we've got this interesting element where there's a chakra here, and then it's got a lobe going out like this way, but it's got another half of the lobe, like it's almost like these chunks are somehow related to this chakra that was forming, because there's a chakra forming that would suggest some kind of eddy was at least like trying to happen off of this corner. like around, like spiraling around it and through the stone in some way, but under such high pressure and not able to actually form an eddy in the circumstances. So like it literally, if we go back to this, in order to do this, like this current is going around this way, but there's a current going both directions, around this way and this way, and sometimes they just kind of pass by one another. Like, that's alright, we're going opposite directions. But sometimes they run into like the highest possible pressure circumstances, like the entire flow this way is converging at the far point. And so it's basically applying an overall pressure into that point specifically. So then the current flows out that way. And similarly, like all of the flow that is generally going upward, in this region is going to have a similar outcome where it runs into itself and then a jet sprays away. And this then basically produces these lobes. Lobe, and then another lobe if the circumstances were that it was able to, like enough material, enough pressure, enough current, all the circumstances were there, then it would form another lobe. It didn't because it broke through the boundary, I guess, probably. Like the eddy doesn't have to go through these types of paths. So once it's able to actually reach some like exit point, so it probably was able to drain enough exhaust to not continue the process pretty much. But the critical thing is the current is running into itself. It's not running next to itself. But here, it's actually like, if we interpret, these are two sides of currents flowing generally towards this point and this point that could have ran into each other, but they didn't actually run into each other. Maybe that is part of why it didn't form an ammonite. Like the structure of the flows was not actually doing the proper things to run into. Instead, it ran like into like the crevice that it created, and it created something incredible and awesome and just out of this world, really. Here's a similar one that's maybe worth noting. Believe I also was like, if we look at this, it doesn't really look like anything here. It doesn't really look like anything when we're looking at it here, so just keep that in mind as we go forward. Keep turning. There's this point. There's this point. Now it's kind of like, I've seen ammonites that kind of look like, here's like the central region and here's like an ammonite. It's kind of looking like near a chakra. But it's like these wave ripples that are actually like interacting. It's so weird. I don't even know what to make of this, really. And this one's going to like a river channels. Oh my, the channeling of this and just this layers one after another, and then around this maybe chakra type thing. Well, and then here it kind of looks again. This one makes it look more like an imprint of an ammonite. It's really fascinating the more I think about these things. Okay, though, we've made it through the details. Maybe we can kind of look at this real quick. This I thought was interesting. This is pyrite. Just kind of in these streaks. Very odd the way it is. Very odd. I took many pictures of this and pieced it together. That's why it's like this. That's about the size of the pictures. It's not that great, even though I did that, but it looks pretty good at this quality, at that resolution. I really like notice just the way it is. This looks like maybe it's running towards the chakra. These lines maybe are running towards this where the chakra is. I didn't actually consider that. Maybe we can look at the Shaligram with that in mind first. We should probably go to this. One of these images. Let's just go there. Let's start here. Hopefully I can keep this oh damn, I didn't prepare. That's not the way I want it to go. Oh, which way is my finger? Oh, don't do that. Exactly opposite. Okay, 1 second. It's too hard to move it. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Shaligram. You don't deserve my treatments. Oh, Lord. They're all sacred, and I'm just like, check them out, guys. Oh shit, I dropped it. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, there's the chakra. Looks kind of weird with me zoomed in on it. But perhaps you can see the lining. Here, let me get another chakra now to compare it to. It's subtle, but it is so there. You can even see like the upper layer there. It really is a chakra forming. And then like this way, that's what I was kind of getting at, the little sideways angles. But they're subtle because it didn't really erode it completely. Because that's how it forms, is by eroding them. It didn't erode the chakra, but it was doing it enough that it actually has chakra characteristics on top of the whole of it being like another chakra up here, and then having the ripples of a ammonite shape out sideways with like the teeth above and below. And then having this one out here, which notice has that thread through it. Oh no, I definitely need something. Oh no. I'm trying to put it on a ball of yarn. That's what's going on here. I'll at least lay down this cloth. dropping it on the freaking desk. It's hard to keep it steady without it shaking if I hold it directly with this much magnification. And my state of being, perhaps. But we can kind of see that path. Seems to go all the way even over there, where it becomes like a boundary in the pyrite. Like that way. I don't know. To there. So this is really crazy. When we go over here, so we got that chakra. There's the chakra. And then the other chakra with the ripples. We've got the ripples like this, up, over. Like the up over here, up over. So it's doing that kind of thing across here. But then when we go like this and actually look at it, it's some of these, it's literally ripples like this. It's these things. So these things within the stone, so not like one of these layers, but within the stone, these ripples make the boundary that come out. When they come out of the stone, they form a boundary of the tiers of this subtle ammonite imprinted in the side that has a clear chakra. Whoa. That little like circle pattern there. Right. Of just like protruding, maybe darker. I don't know. Let's kind of look in here just for funsies. Wait, where are we? This must be the chakra. Okay, there's the chakra. Now I see it. Oh my god, do we see actual chakra tiers in there? And like eroded into it a little more than... I mean, it's going up to the chakra. It has tiers. It has like an inner thing, kind of like the other, like we were talking about before. Like like this inner one. So like, I don't know if I can point there. Up to like there. And then an outer one actually to where it's eroded fully. Let's look even closer. Believe we should be able to see. This is in here. Like it has a chakra. The side thing has a chakra. As if it's its own chakra. Which, again, shaligrams do that. I've never seen it so proximal to the chakra in a way that's like so pronounced as this. But I mean, it happens. Where they form like chakras at the sides. I don't know if I can easily find one. They're typically not pronounced, like clear that they're chakras. I've come to interpret it that way, but it's not as defined. It's not it's not like all the time either. It's okay. It's okay. Let's keep going. So that's pretty crazy. I love just looking really close and being like, whoa. No idea what's gonna be found. It all just shows up out of the blue. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So it's worth checking this out. So from here, maybe I can get a little closer. From this like node thing at the, like it's maybe not as defined like this one. Let me pull up the image simultaneously. Over here, so following this path over that way. From this node across this way to, like, does it go above the chakra? So let's check it out. Does it go above the chakra? So here's the path. Cross this way. We'll check it out in a little more detail. But across this way. Here's the chakra. Right here. The one we were just looking at. So this is that side. Right there. Just make sure I'm still on it. It's certainly going very much to that location. I mean, maybe it's not exactly. It seems pretty exact, but it's hard to show you. Let's kind of zoom out as much as I can. I don't know. There we go. That's way better to show this detail. So we go across that way. Right to the chakra. Literally, it's pointing at it. I had not looked at it to see if that was a thing when I mentioned that earlier. That's just how it is, though, so it was likely. That's why, like, it literally is so epic. Oh, they're so cool. I don't know what to make of it exactly, so current was definitely going to or from there. Possibly from there. So here's something of importance. What is going on with this stone? Like, why, if these are shaped by currents, then how did this stone happen? Like, why would it do this? And most of what we're looking at so far is kind of like a top-down look, but if we kind of like look under the hood kind of thing, it's kind of interesting what we can find. So like this one here, if we flip the stone, so we still see the ribs there wrapping around the side here. And then we see this. So there's this like broken piece of the Shaligram, this chunk that like is directly opposite to this little like nub area. So that like if there's a current flow aspect to it, that would just like make sense. That there would be some kind of inlet or outlet to that's like running into that point and fanning from it, or concentrating at that point and like exiting through some kind of channel, like there kind of thing, like some boundaries to it, and then possibly running along these paths or vice versa. Interesting that the ribs actually divide there. It seems like it. Does it do that? Am I making that up? And then there's a crack related to it too. Like right there. Is that like an extending rib that's going a little too far out? I don't know. But let's keep looking at them. So that one has, right opposite to this is that. But then we got this one, which is also a little like little nub portion of it. So if we do the same, flip it. We've got this portion that maybe I should bring that picture up. This portion. So potentially like a current went through this area, through here, or into or out of this area, through and into basically like underneath this layer, where then it interacted across this region of this like layer that is being shaped into a seashell pretty much by the current flows. So that's these two. So that introduces a hypothesis, a pseudo hypothesis, if you will, some kind of like, can we see, does this trend continue kind of thing. So we've got like some kind of inlet or outlet for those two, but they're not the only ones. There's one over here. This one that had these things coming off it to the nucleus. Can you even see? Like right there, some kind of it's incredible how it just goes to it. But then let's keep going. Let me look at this, just make sure that's what I was thinking. Yeah, okay, yeah. Here's that boundary kind of thing again. Same thing as the other side right in here, where there's like a boundary around it. And like a darker material there. Kind of like how this one is. Just right there. So there's almost like a little conduit that was connected. That's no longer there. Also, this is really cool. This stuff. It's just like, let me see. It's almost like a tar looking, but the way it's shaped in here. See any familiar shapes? Like, what? What is that? What is that? Why is that? Like, and I'm talking from a modern science consensus viewpoint. What the hell, dudes? Little divots in it. Just going, and then this bar across, like right through the center, like a gamma ray burst. Something in this little tar thing. Look at the size of it here. Tiny. And yet inside it is this defined bar that has like two lobes over right there. The bar going across. That's connecting more of the lobe structures. So like a current was flowing that was creating like an eddy that then created lobes that then extended this like beam. At some point the beam happened and it just like created these lobes over and over and little divots like the one next to it. And there's a good instance of multiple chakras though. On the left side, the way there's like 4 circles in a row, kind of hole punches staggered that are creating different like chakras. One is fully connected, so that it's just kind of narrowing. The next one above it is a little taller than the one above that on the left side, at least. And then on the right side, it's the opposite, interestingly, of the one right here. These features. Like, what's on there? And it's doing it over here too. If I can, there, over here. Those ones. I'm trying to think which Shaligram this reminds me of, if I can find it. I don't know if it's one of these. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. That's pretty cool, but it's a little odd. I don't know what to make of it in terms of exactly what to make of it, besides just current flows fractally in some subtle way that's doing the same things, which really shows how it's like truly galactic, cosmic. These things are cosmic in nature. Fractal, like literally holding the cosmos. I mean, everything is like that, but these are in a way where it's more like actually like a 1-to-1 kind of ratio thing, like not ratio, but 1-to-1 like parallels, almost like an atom has like a structure that is just different than like a molecule. It's more like fundamental. One kind of is built from the other, where one is like truly like a singular particle. Although those are all made up of other particles all the way down and ad infinitum, to a point where this has infinity within it, which is why it's like the cosmos, where like subtle things that we may not, like an actual ammonite, have really intense energy relative to like smaller things, where like that becomes a galactic structure, but then within it are like solar systems, stars, Okay. Another conduit looking thing there. Let's see, did we get all of them? We got 1, 2, 3. And then this one. Here's another one. Under the chakra. So here's the chakra. Under it. Which is this chakra. So this one, so we got the start of these shells all having some kind of conduit looking thing connected to the start of them. So like this one should too. So when we look at this one, again we see like some kind of chamber type region of the stone that like a conduit might have been, where it kind of looks snapped off, like whatever it flowed into or from was not as cohesively one with it as the rest of the stone. So just like detached. So it's covered in 4 visible seashells formations that all have like inlet conduits to them, and then formed within them is this ammonite structure. I'm just looking at something real quick, sorry. This ammonite structure with the chakra there that connects to the threading things over here, I believe. It's a little blurry. There they are. Interesting, those ones go to like the far side of the chakra. There's ones over here and over here. These ones kind of converge, or maybe not completely. Let's see, they've got like a spread maybe. It's going at least over here, through that way. And like over here-ish. So in this range, pretty much where the chakra is, that range. But then over here is another one going over this way. It's going far away from the chakra. This is crazy. Pretty sure that's just that black stuff though. It looks like an ammonite like in the side. Incredible. It just looks like one. This also looks like the way chakras tend to be. Right there. 2 chakras. And then like a lobe out that way where this black stuff was. Interesting though. Way that the pyrite is. Wow. Wow. So it's almost like a flow of currents coming in like a wider range that is kind of getting focused down a channel. this way. So like this whole seashell thing had like a wide amount of current underneath it. And probably through it, but like pushing down to like literally be underneath it, through it, to then flow out from the focal point over here. Or vice versa, to fan out once it flowed through the focal point, as well as to go to the side and create these little black blobs of goo for some reason. Whatever that is. Whatever that material is. Not goo. Kind of interesting chakra-like shape there, right on the edge. Like the combination of this angle here and this angle here. It's kind of chakra-like. If they're just everywhere, then that's probably like one too. So let's look at this chakra some more. So interestingly, just like the place we were just looking at, this black stuff that's not really everywhere, is really not everywhere on the stone. It's certainly on the stone, but it's not everywhere. That might be it there. But it's especially noticeable here, and that the other chakra we were just looking at. Kind of needs to be like that, maybe. That way it really looks like a chakra. If we look on the left side, like all those little steps. Why is that there? Coincidence. That's literally all modern science can say about like half these things. If it has anything to say, I think it just doesn't have anything to say. That's its like rebuttal. You were saying? Literally silence. Just silence. That's the rebuttal of modern. That's how modern science addresses things that just it can't explain. That basically are like, wait, we can't explain this. We'll just ignore it entirely. Boom, problem solved. Problem, reaction, solution. I don't know why I said that. But you see the chakra going up this way. Bending like chakras do, and then going up. Interestingly, I wonder if it bends some more. And then like that's the end of the stone, so. I'm doing, let's go the other way. This is where it goes to these odd teeth things that like ammonites have, but like why are these things having? That really looks. That's incredible. The way this like material looks like a little ammonite sometimes. Like it looks like voids in the stone, but it's not. Wow. Wow. What? I gotta get this to like be a good way to rest it. Oh my. Where are we looking? Can I find it? Somewhere over here on this. Basically, some of that black, like, shiny stuff. Let's see if we can go closer. Oh, yeah. Oh my god. How epic. It's like the processes of making shaligrams. Literally moving the grains. Arranging the grains. Those little striations. Nothing to see here. Ain't nothing worth seeing. It's boring. They're fossils. Get over it. Oh my god. Like chakra shape there. Whoa. It's hard to follow the whole shape. Whoa. And those ripples. Wow. Like, what is that right there? What is this doing in this seashell? Telling me that's just hanging out in this seashell. Oh my god. I mean, maybe someone could argue that one. Well, it's whatever, coral or something. I don't know, some kind of microscopic thing that has like circular shapes that they've just been like, oh, that's something that's, or we, I guess, I don't want to say we have attributed as a collective to something that it's not. Let's see what else we got. I don't even know what to look at. Something else worth looking at is a stone that Jack gave me and said, look at this under your microscope. Ah. Jack, that rock. This is cool as Shaligrams. Something. Just trying to look at the, here. You can kind of see like a round patch there. Yeah, I'm just thinking like maybe that's kind of like a current flow in some instances where it's just like broken. Maybe it's reflective that there was some kind of like conduit of current at play that generally took shape. That then when we see it like this, lends itself to being seen as the cross section of the conduit. This is probably worth checking out. So here's that chakra. This one. Just kind of checking out its side. That's kind of chakra shaped. The boundary. Like, what is up with this? Check this out. I kind of looked at it. Just these streaks. From a fossilization standpoint, what the fuck? Currents just make more sense. It's not as complicated to kind of contemplate. I know, like, fossilization is ultimately can maybe be like summarized as currents in some way, but it's just not able to actually explain things that require like high energy currents, not just currents. I think the excuse of millions of years for this to have taken to form just kind of dulls the mind to what like actually is required to do this. Because currents, slow and steady, are just like, that's what they are, slow and steady. Steady. They're not like high flux variations where like certain areas of the stone just have different circumstances, very proximal to one another to the point where they actually, the currents did this. It's not like the stones are just like randomly eroding these ways by coincidence across millions of years. I mean, that's kind of cool. This little black center with like two stacked things that everything kind of radiates from in a way around it. Interesting. Interesting. It might be a portion of the stone that's a little more eroded. So maybe current was coming out of the stone under that layer, out of the layer there. Let's check out this stone real quick. It's really kind of boring in appearance. Maybe I can zoom out a bit. It's got like a flat surface, and just from Florida here. A little hair on it somewhere. Okay, we're going in just real quick because this stone is real crazy when we look at it close. It's probably coral, or considered coral. Oh crap, it's like getting this on it. I probably don't need this. I don't need that thing for this stone. I'll just go anywhere. It doesn't matter, I don't think. Don't think it really matters where we actually look at. Some peculiarities so far, but maybe you can notice some circles. Something. It's not high enough. I gotta adjust this thing. Okay. There we go. I just can't get close enough. It's taking way longer than I probably should, sorry. It's not. Okay. Huh. I'm surprised I didn't just immediately find something interesting. There's something. Definitely see that circle one. That one. Not even looking at the stone. It's okay. I saw so many features I'm just like literally not finding right now. It might be the magnification. Okay, I'm kind of seeing them now. These circles. Here we go. Now we're kind of seeing them at least. So it's probably considered coral, I'd imagine. Something biological. But I feel like if we look at it, end of sentence. Like, really just not finding the cool stuff. When I was looking at this. Generally, that the greens are my thoughts, so I can say something. The greens are like arranged to do this. It's not that it's like biological. Maybe it's growing it out of subtler things that are arranged so that it's ultimately like precipitating out of some fluid. But ultimately arranging the grains like to do this though, even if they're really subtle, like arranging atoms by current flows. It's kind of what I was thinking when looking at this. I really think it's widespread, the unaccounted for things that are actually caused by current flows that are interpreted to be biological, possibly with like a crossover between the two, because there really is like a relationship between them that I don't understand. But it's very granular there, like we saw in the Shaligram. Different material that gives me the impression that currents were kind of shaping it by how they went through the stone. Okay, that's enough of this guy. Let's go back to the Shaligram. I should probably stop soon. I don't even know how long I've been going. Well, I guess however long this music's been playing. Hour and a half. I find it so cool that this ammonite structure that has a chakra here, and then the lobe out this way, that the lobe has the ribs there. Wow, the boundary of the ribs looks interesting. Like it's like a chain, like a cutting of the boundary by like some kind of chain current that like had chain length, like an eddy. like current flows and eddy and flow, eddy, and just propagates, but with eddies to cut the boundary. That's kind of what that seemed like when I looked at that. The dark boundary on the top side of it. Lots of little nooks, suggestive of little cuts from like an eddy current, small eddy current at the boundary. That then reached over here though, to this boundary. Like particularly like right there. This one. The way that is, and then kind of like right there. Chaining from over here though, going across that way, and then turning along the boundary of these rib things, interestingly, like cutting them based on the ammonite though that was forming. But then having these ribs of a just totally different structure. That if we follow them, they actually continue over here somewhere. They seem to go underneath this layer. From here underneath this. And then just follow across, 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 and then out all the way over here. Where it's like an underlayer. To this one up here. This is different. This is this one. Let's see if I can find it. This one. So over here. This continues over to be the lobes of that ammonite. That's interesting right there. Again though, it's just that like black material, I think. I don't think it's actually a void, it just looks like it until it's clear it's not. Again, with the chakras in a row, I don't think that's the same place we looked at before. Little punch holes in a row. Both side chakras. So in a circumstance like this, if an ammonite formed, one of the chakras would become the dominant chakra, and the other ones would be like functions of where the lobes like form outward. Like if the first chakra from the top, there's like these ones here. If these ones were the dominant one, they would probably, honestly, probably the one below that would be the dominant one, is my guess. For some reason, I don't know, just kind of gives me a vibe. That's all. I'm going on vibe. But whichever one, it would basically create the boundaries of the ammonite based on the other chakras, or literally erode the other chakras entirely, depending on circumstances. But like, it would probably tend towards using the other chakras unless the eddy got dominant enough to actually remove the totality. Like, it wasn't enough that there was this space that the other chakra provided by having like an eddy around it. It needed more space than that, to the point where it just literally cut its own space of the lobes that just remove the chakras entirely. That can happen too, where like a new chakra forms and old chakras are just utterly cut away and eroded away. In channels like this, to just ultimately lead to a more cohesive like eddy and ammonite shape than like these weird little nub type things that are just happening in like a little indentation eroded in the side. That then seems to have some kind of material filling it. That's very curious. I don't know what to make of that. I've never really seen that type of material on a Shaligram when I zoomed in on it like this. Don't know what to make of it. It's definitely there. Like, there's some more, and it's got all sorts of current paths on it. Go over here again. It's so orange. I don't know why it's so orange. That's incredible. Those little circles. So that's another thing they can do on the bottom there, where there's a, let's see, these ones, where there's kind of like a center chakra there at the, right there. Who knows, some kind of fabric on there. But there's like a protruding center one at the bottom there. And then above it is actually like a cross beam going to another lobe. Above it though, it doesn't, like, that's not the shape of an ammonite, but it's kind of like choosing. It could, basically it does it this way and then it does it sideways too, to then like increase the space overall that the current is occupying. But yeah, seemingly doing it like sideways above. Maybe I could pull up some similar ones where the layered. Layered, where like the chakra is here, and here's this other one above it. Layered. This one off the side at the boundary of it, where they're actually cohesively one. Layered. This one's real interesting. Like off the top of that chakra is one of those points. So there's another point down there at the far end. Far end, bottom, not so much at the top, interestingly, almost as if like it evacuated enough pressure down this way and to a point where it actually flowed into here, which then led to current flow that way. Notice there's like a pseudo chakra type thing in there, kind of like it looks kind of similar to this because it's like some kind of pillar point where the current didn't actually cut through. It went around it and led to like a pseudo type of chakra thing at that point. And then all the subtleties in this and some more layered ones that are a little odd. Layered like above there. Just the way they organize themselves based on the stacking eddies. Chakra's pretty in line there. Not always in line. This was kind of the one I was most curious to bring up now. Is like it's sideways here, so like the lobes are this way, but then this way is another system. Kind of reminded me of what we were just looking at there. Just a subtle little erosion in there. Notice underneath it, there's like a half a lobe too. It's like eroded away, the bottom half of it. If I can get there. Here, right there is a lobe, and then a chakra though on the right there, with a lobe to the right of it. So there's another like ammonite looking thing there, and then some other ones in the bubble, like eddy erosion points above there. So we're seeing ammonite features like all throughout the stone, even though it has no ammonites in it. Like what would be termed an ammonite by modern science. To me, it has the ammonite because the ammonite is just like a product of the current, so it can have it in a like really subtle way and still have it. It's just not defined, but that's okay because the eddy was there, so it's still visible. It's just not considered an ammonite in a lot of cases unless it's defined, but that's because science thinks they're fossils. And even values like the pristine ones over the anomalous ones, hilariously. Those are the ones that science most likes to look at, are the ones that are so the same as one another that there's really nothing to do except for to categorize them all. Not the ones that are like, what the hell happened here? Are we gonna talk about this one? What the hell happened with this ammonite? Why does this thing look like an ammonite? Well, that's not an ammonite. It's just... I don't know why it's not focusing either way. That's kind of weird the way that is. It's almost like a thread that's folded and wrapped around. Like a snake that's like coiled. Snake head on the left, and then like a coiling body coming out of some like crack over here. Oh my god. Every Shaligram could be studied indefinitely. No end. That's kind of cool. Looks like a little sun or something there. Zoom out a little. Lottle. Okay. So again, here's the ammonite boundary. It's kind of interesting the way this wraps across here, and then it kind of wraps down a little bit. It's kind of got a chakra shape to it even. It's just a bunch of competing eddies that none of them really like took hold completely. I don't know what else that, or maybe layered is so closely, but none like dominant. Like this even looks like a chakra. I know I just see them everywhere at some point, but right here. I like to think of it as getting a practice die or something more of that nature than making them up. Perhaps some of them are maybe a little far-fetched, like that one I just pointed to particularly. I'm just kind of looking at the way that ammonite structure is. Let's see. Oh. Yeah. There's the chakra to the ammonite. I'm going this way along this boundary, let's say. That straight path is pretty crazy. It looks like it kind of bends in there. Whatever's going on in there is kind of odd. In the center there. Like it's separate from the top and bottom a little bit, and it bends from the top side to the bottom side, and kind of goes middle and back top. It's a little odd. Down this like crevice thing that maybe I should... This crevice. Let's look here. zoomed in too much to know where I am. Okay. I'm trying to look in this like eroded, porous crack area. I think it's there. Oh my god, just the grains first of all. It's curious how squared they are. It would seem on the surface that that might be counterintuitive. Like, class are considered to get rounded if they were in like some kind of riverbed, I believe. Like, that's a thing. So if these are flowing in a current flow path, they would seem that they should create more rounded grains that ultimately get deposited relative to one another. However, I would say maybe it's like points to something else, like in terms of how the current interacts on certain scales that didn't like need per se or have the pressure to erode into certain structures, and like within that structure there's also current flow pushing out a boundary of a similar nature to how current is getting into this, but into the grains to then push the boundaries of the grains in ways that then make them like more square based on the current flows at times, even though it's undercurrent flows. I could see something like that happening in the right conditions. It's crazy how that's like multi-layered right there in that fracture or cut etch going this way. There's the chakra again. I'm just trying to find the chakra for reference. I believe it's right there. Oh, it's one of those circumstances where it kind of looks like it could be the chakra, but the chakra is way back over here. Or is it even further? It's like multiple chakras. We will find the chakra. There it is. There's the chakra. And then following it this way, apparently, there's like another possible chakra around here. Which seems to have lobes on both sides, really. I don't know if I can let this go. definitely kind of see a chakra on the bottom. Bottom center, real subtle looking. Oddly at the base and not actually over here at the top of what I would expect to be the chakra. Almost like it's forming its own ammonite in the like space just outside of the influence of this larger ammonite structure that's not able to push into the pressures of this area as much, so it actually had like its own little eddy down there. And then kept going. That's crazy. Right there. This like circle this way, lobe down this way. That's the main chakra. I just never noticed. I don't think that like element to it. You can kind of see if you on the left side, right there, like an upper boundary, right around there. That also is happening in there. As well as the even upper boundary beyond that, but like in terms of there is a boundary there. It's kind of like a smaller lobe shape. That then, if we look on the right side, if we kind of just take this boundary back to here, it mimics this side. So it's like a small little figure 8 with a little central thing over here. Possibly one over here then. That then grew and grew and grew and grew till it's a nice big little boy and big and strong and could puncture through all the sides of the seashells that never existed. Can you even see like a conduit thing right there, up there to that little white patch between, again though, like the way the chakras do, where it has like a large chakra that kind of has a boundary starting here, going across down, and then kind of just across down at the base here. But then it has like a subtle chakra that's in the lighter material that actually goes across here, across above, and then down right there. Starting right around there. Oh no, sorry. What am I even pressing? That's crazy. That's so delicate. Is that delicate? Oh wow. Something's like dislodging there. But a current flow seems to be there from top to bottom. And then that lobe on the bottom here seems to actually have a boundary that goes more across that way. then that kind of makes it look like maybe there's another lobe up here. But interestingly, this one has like the pyrite material in there maybe. So this one's more shale based. This one's more pyrite based. And as we go over, it stays that way. Like the pyrite type material seems to be more visible in the top half, and the shale color is more visible here. And then again over here, but it's actually only down the middle where the top and the bottom are shale. On this side, that's crazy. And there's kind of next to it, so there's this chakra here going this way, but there's also kind of like a tier and then down and across up to like a chakra here that's actually there. And then down over here. Where am I? Like right there and back down. So like a big chakra with a smaller like main chakra, but like also a big chakra over here. Aspect to it that also is happening in like a dominant recessive, like a recessive kind of way. It's not dominant to the other overall structure that was happening. That was more of a chakra to like right there with a counter chakra over there. That seems to be staggered more over that way though. Some potential chakra type things inside there too. Let's see, on the top side particularly of this little crevice. Hard to say what kind of details it has. I'm thinking it might have the element of the chakra where one side is more stepped and the other side is more sloped. I believe I might have mentioned that here, where this is more sloped and this is more stepped side. In regard to the maybe chakra type things going on. Something just occurred to me. This is so crazy. I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I haven't fully thought it through. When I posted this, maybe I can find this post. There's no way I can find this post. At least not quickly. It's something I would like to share. Okay, here's some of those images real quick. I don't know of that rock. I don't know if we really got to see it very well, so maybe we can just go through these. I don't think these came out as well as they looked, and we can definitely see a bunch of little circle things going on in there. There's also like these little black specks of material. It's at times could be kind of distributed in patterns, it seemed. Porosity, like Really don't see the circular structures very well in this. They were really clear, I thought. I couldn't find them loaded and even demonstrate that. Anyway, let's not get too distracted. That's not too exciting. I would really... Here's that chakra. As I drew it there. I would like to find... I might just be able to just go like this. Galaxy merge. Yeah, this one. So my thought was, maybe over here where the points did not actually collide, but they instead kind of went adjacent to one another. There is this little like circular thing. It gives me the impression of something that's got like a tail like that, like, and then it's got this little deep like line this way, and then notice these have these almost like conduit paths, like umbilical cord type things. I mean, this is a model GIF. I don't even know what basis this is. If it's just purely artistic, it must have been made by a computer program for how it is though, so it's probably like based on some kind of math. But the point is, like, it generally has, curiously, some of the details in the structures at times. Maybe I can pause it now. Where I was thinking maybe there's some kind of, like, galaxy merger aspect to how these are interacting. Maybe? I don't know, just a thought. Before I forgot to mention it, there's also like a little interaction space between these, where there's like a little X. This one doesn't have the nucleus type thing, and then there's this layer remnant that there's like the ripples, like over here, these ripples, but another layer outward, so we can tell on top of all this, there's a little chunk of another layer of some other shell that these would have had to be near. If this was like a fossil bed, then there was just another seashell that just so happened, coincidentally, to layer with all these right there. Mind you, this one, I believe, is one of the feeding conduits into the other ones. Yeah. So this conduit has, here's the piece of seashell thing. Is like part of this inlet channel region. To this one. So let's check it out a little bit. See if it's like one with it, if it's kind of divided. It looks kind of divided. Like where the color changes on the bottom with all the like black in there, and then abruptly turns to more of like a dark brown, maroon, something of the other color, some other color. Right there. You can even see a little crack there where the divide is. That seems to go generally like across that way. So there is some kind of divide between this inlet channel and whatever is going on here. It seems like it wasn't like just flowing into the other thing and underneath this. Like there was a divide between those where the flow into or out of the other seashell was directed around this seashell structure underneath it. Let's see the other side though. Like, what is that little bulb type thing doing there underneath it of the shiny shale with some kind of like two-sided conduit leading up to it? Almost as if like current went around here and that way and like eddied right here in this space to then create some kind of triangular boundary to that eddy. And also eddied over here, it looks like. Went up the other way, and then maybe eddied in here a little bit. Particularly right here, running into this resistance this way, going across resistance. Freaking. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go. Thanks for watching, y'alls. This was In the Sunlight. I'll link this in the ones that I can edit the description at least. And then I'll link this one and the Tulsi. Cool. Alright, till next time, y'all. I started writing my book too. Side note. Like, I haven't touched it in months. I touched it. First time in months I did anything.